southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony back in studio with the One Hell of a Life Outdoor Podcast. What's going on, Dad? Back here in Georgia.
Yay! You know what? I didn't know that I was over waterfowl season because we didn't get to hunt that much this year, as much as we usually do. Mm-hmm. But I'm over it. I'm over it, and it's time to go kill some turkeys. And with that said, we got turkey connoisseur.
Yeah, we got turkey fanatic himself,
yes.
Roscoe, Preston Bell, Roscoe Outdoors, back on the podcast. For y'all don't know, Roscoe's down in Florida. He goes by Roscoe, and he just does some cool stuff with social media, and that's kind of how I connected with him originally. He was on the podcast probably about a year ago, but yeah, we wanted to get him back on to just talk about some good stuff with the right stuff with getting youth into hunting and turkey season, of course, and how his duck season was. So Roscoe, thank you for coming back on, man.
How you doing?
Doing good.
It's a pleasure being back on the podcast. I had a great time last time, and now it's been a year, and we've had a little bit more topics and more stuff to hunt. And I think this past year I've definitely done more hunting than I've ever done. So there should be plenty to talk about.
That's good. That means you're living right.
That's awesome. Heck yeah, man. So what's going on down there in Florida? Come on now. It can't be that hard. Daytona 500 was just not too long ago. I mean, come on. It's nice, right?
It's hot. It's getting hotter than it is. It's actually a little bit different here. It's been a little bit cooler than it normally is, but it's still in the 80s in the afternoon. But luckily this year we've had a little bit more cool weather. But we're having a problem with water down here right now. There's a lot, and not like normal people. Normal people have a problem with water with not having enough. We have too much. So all the areas down here we're trying to hunt and do stuff like that. It's a little wet. I mean, just from the last week, I've definitely been waist deep water just walking through the woods.
Jeez, wow. Man. Well, I know it's like that El Nino year or whatever, and that's supposed to bring more rain. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but could be.
I think it has to, because it's definitely the wettest year I've seen in the last 10 years would be my guess.
Yeah, well, that would sound about right, because I think they say, I don't know for sure, I could just be making this up, but I want to say it's like every 7 years or something that this happens, where there's this change in weather pattern. But
I think 7 years sounds about right.
I think it happens every year that I think I'm going to be successful.
Yeah.
I think it can happen 7 years in a row.
No, but man, for people that didn't hear the first podcast, Roscoe, can you kind of just give people a little quick intro about who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff?
Well, I am a born and raised fifth year generation cracker. I been in Florida my entire life. Don't really plan on leaving. I was introduced to the outdoors at a very young age, getting pulled onto hunting leases and going fishing on boats. I think the first time I ever really went in the woods was probably 3 to 4 months after I was born, sitting in a sling, getting rode around on the airboat. And then I progressed. And about 3, I got to be taken on our lease and hunt buggies. And then I finally got into turkey hunting around 5 years old. And I got an early birthday gift before I turned 6, about 4 months early, and I got to shoot my first turkey when I was 5. So, I've just always been in the outdoors, and now I've progressed into photography, videography, social media, trying to get the youth more into it, trying to be part of more programs like the NWTF, Delta Waterfowl. I might try to get it a little bit into the Ducks Unlimited aspect. But I'm just down here in sunny South Florida at the south end around the Palm Beach area. So that's a little bit about me.
That's great, man. And yeah, you touched on Delta Waterfowl, and I want to get back to the youth thing, but I know Delta, I don't know how WTF has affected Florida, but I know Delta has been a huge thing as far as just being on commission meetings and things like that, just kind of having people's back in the state of Florida. So I know that's been a huge win for the state.
Yeah, no, and dude, I just gotta give you a big shout out, because one of the main reasons why we got you back on this podcast is I'm inspired by you as a young man, having the heart that you do, to be so passionate about getting these younger people into the sport, because it's exactly what we need, and they need to be brought the right way. I got a chance to meet your old man, and I know you come from a good family, and thank God, you got taught the right way and that kind of thing. And I love that you're just so inspired to go, help these younger people, help them have an entryway into the sport, but also teach them the right unwritten rules of hunting.
For sure.
Yeah, man. No, and I know you got a little brother, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's like, you kind of hits home a little bit too. I bet you probably take a little bit of ownership of being that big brother, kind of showing them the roots outside of, your dad and grandpa and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, why don't we kind of start there, man? Let's just get into, some of those values, and, people always say, oh, those old school values, but it's like, unless you're fortunate enough to have like, a family like you did, Roscoe, or like me with my dad, or somebody to kind of show you the ropes, it's hard, to learn those things without it,
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of kids out there that are less fortunate that aren't allowed to hunt. Parents don't like guns. Parents don't like people taking, other animal lives, think it's going to make them crazy and get stuff like that, which is just not true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, parents will let their kids sit around all day, play Call of Duty and play all these video games where all you're doing is massacring people, but you can't go outside and kill an animal because you think it might make somebody want to kill somebody, which is completely true. Hunters will know so much more about an animal's life and experience it and love that life so much more than any vegetarian or vegan that says they're protecting life by only eating meat. Veggies. We have a different aspect. We're conservationists. We're trying to grow the population. We're making sure the population doesn't get overpopulated and have problems like we had with snow goose, last year, and having the flu and stuff. So we're the ones that are actually helping animals. People that are eating veggies all day aren't doing anything for it. They're just saying they're doing something because they feel better about themselves. So it's just weird how people have gotten that twisted too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think Steve Ranella said something like he admires a deer, obviously, but he admires the idea of deer much more. And for the success story that deer and turkey and some of these other things have been, like, conservation wise, in the last 50 years or whatever it's been, it's been intentional, by putting these different conservation, pieces in place. And like you said, we're more vigilant and care more about the animals long term than probably most vegans because of how much it's connected to our lives,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it has so much to do with our lifestyle and the way we think and the way we act, and it's something that we need to turn down and give to our children and their children and grandchildren and so on and so forth, so there's actually land and places to hunt and animals to thrive later on in life.
Yeah Absolutely, man. And hey guys, Tristan here. So we lost about 10 minutes of the podcast just due to some weird technical difficulties. But basically what we were talking about is some of the old school values that we're trying to instill in the youth, just being respectful out there in the marsh or in the woods, and just, really just trying to be mindful of other hunters. And, not everybody grew up in a hunting family. And, it's just important that we all just kind of do our best to help teach those values to new people getting into hunting and young hunters. But basically, we're going to pick right back up and talk with Roscoe about his turkey season plans. It's getting right into your favorite time of year, I know, with the turkey hunting. So what's kind of on the agenda there, Roscoe?
Kill birds. It's probably going to be my biggest year so far. It's going to probably be the most dates I hunt with the most people I've ever hunted with. I got connected to a lot of people this year when it comes to turkey hunting, trading hunts out and getting people. So even the Kade up there at Delta Thunder Outfitters, I asked him, and I think he wants to come down. So we're going to try to get him his first Osceola bird. Opening weekend, I got 3 buddies, one from North Carolina, or 2 from North Carolina, and 1 from Alabama coming down.
Nice.
Opening season, Zone B. I have just a friends and family buddy coming down. Then the following weekend, I have a guy that is a part of Healing Through the Outdoors, which is a Wounded Warriors PTSD type of deal. And he's going to bring a kid that needs to get his Osceola for his slam. So
Oh,
he's
that's
going to
great.
come, and we're going to try to capture it all on video and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. And how just kind of popped to my mind because I know you were talking. I heard you say something recently about it's hard to conceal 3 people on a turkey hunt or whatever, and trying to film a turkey hunt, that's got to be pretty damn hard, huh?
Yeah, it is. All right, especially when your son's going, Dad, dude, it's very nerve wracking. I mean, I just gotta give it to you guys because it is. We shut the camera off because we didn't want to screw it up. But it was so dramatic to us. But anyway, yeah, go down that road. Like, how do you do it?
The filming part is actually not as hard as you think. It's the people you're filming that make it hard. So last year, perfect example, our youth opener in the South Zone, because the South Zone youth opener, I'm not crazy big on. I mean, I love doing it. I do it, but our second zone, B zone, that starts March 16th this year, that's like always the biggest youth we always do every year. Is the most kids that I see. I'll hunt with 2 to maybe 3 kids, not all together, but 1 kid, second kid, third kid, depending on how many birds we kill and who hasn't killed a bird yet and stuff like that. And last year I was filming, had birds. The kid messed up on 2 birds opening morning. I mean, we heard well over 100 gobbles, had 4 different birds. Right off the bat, had 1 bird come in right up to the fence line, and I was 60 yards back from him filming. And I just remember seeing the bird in strut, and then it untucked and started running. So I guess the kid pointed at it to show us before the kid did. And I could hear the drumming, but I'm so far away I can't talk to him. So I'm texting on the phone. I'm like texting, make sure he doesn't move, tell him not to do anything. And it was too late. The bird was there because I could hear the drumming. Man. So took the bird. Kid got impatient, said he wanted to stand up and walk around for a little bit. And I already knew the other bird was coming because I was working both birds and the other bird was just 200 yards ahead. And again, it's youth. You can't force people to go and do stuff. You can't jam something down their throat they don't want to do. So whatever happy is what keeps the kid happy. So if you want to stand up and walk around, we'll stand up and walk around. And I told him, I said, if there's a bird in this field when we get back, you can't be disappointed. And you're fine with that. Yes. Stood up, walked around 5 minutes, came back to the field, and the bird's sitting 20 yards from where they were sitting in the middle of the field, full strut by itself.
Oh my God.
It says, I wish I would have stayed. I will listen to you whenever you say we should stay next time. So,
well, hey, lesson learned, right?
We'll see. It left a mark, and he even talked to his dad the next day. You're not disappointed in me, are you? He's like, no, why would I be disappointed? He said, you went hunting. This is your first time turkey hunting. You had it like a champ. You came out there. You woke up in the morning, and then the kid going through, he said, next year we're getting them. 100% next year I'm killing a bird. I want to go. I'll go regular season, youth season. And so he's pretty fired up about it. And that's the stuff you got to watch out for when you're filming. It's not you, it's really the people. So I've kind of figured out the camera aspect of it. The best thing to camouflage your camera is an old leafy suit. You take the sleeve and you put it all the way down right to the edge of your camera, because all my lenses are internal focusing, so nothing spins. So I just put the leafy right on the edge, because most cameras have the sunshade. So if you put the sunshade on normal, you just put it right behind it, and it covers the whole thing around the mic, and it'll cover the entire tripod. Because if you try to wrap it or paint it or something like that, it usually ends up not working, and the zip ties will drive you crazy.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. We got a ghillie suit, so I mean that might work for that.
Yeah. No, it's got a big long sleeve that comes with it for your gun and stuff too. And I mean, we're not going to be using it for our gun, so. Yeah,
no. One thing, hearing you talk about that story with the kid and just kind of learning is, I think back to last year, like when we ended up getting my turkey on public land up here, my first turkey, but it took several days of, figuring stuff out, and public land bird doesn't want to be called at, and we got busted one day. And, long story short, like I was telling my dad after the time we got busted, I was like, it's hard because I don't know what I can get away with, because I don't have this reference of like experience, like with deer hunting. Like I know with deer hunting, like what I can get away with and when I can draw my bow back. And long story short, we had one Jake out in this field, and this turkey comes walking from left to right, and gets about maybe 25 yards from the decoy, and he got spooked, and basically started walking straight up parallel with us up into the woods. And honestly, like looking back on it, I might have just been able to stand up real quick and shoot the turkey, but like I was so paralyzed with like, oh shit, it's going wrong, But it's just you don't have, and then obviously learning that bird was smart to decoys, just little things like that. You don't really have that toolbox until you you're out there and you learn those things.
You forgot your 10 millimeter socket.
Yeah. Forgot my 308.
I forgot my cast net.
You got to do a 22-250 that works better. Doesn't blow them apart.
Yeah, 308 would probably blow them pretty good.
Oh, that's a door mat. You can slide them under the door.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
No, but man, these turkeys down there. I mean, I've seen some out, deer hunting and stuff in Florida, at least where we were at, and they're swamp turkeys. There's
turkey. That's how most of the birds down here are.
Yeah, so kind of just talk about that. Like talk about the environment that you're hunting these turkeys in. Because I think us Midwestern folks, what we know is turkeys in the prairies. We got turkeys in the pastures. We got turkeys in the big oaks woods. But and they roost above a river and all these things. Talk about just the environment and what the turkeys, how they are at down there, because they are two truly different species that have a totally different type of environment. Yeah.
So we don't have prairies and rivers. We have canal ditches and cattle fields. That I think we have a couple rivers that we hunt the birds on, but they're not like the rivers like you're thinking of, like these awesome 50-foot pecky cypress trees that are along the river. No, we got like these like garbage ones that have like 20-foot pecky cypress with knees everywhere, and you're trying not to put a hole in the side of your boat when you're driving down it. And the rivers down here really aren't that wide. They're they're wider than a canal, but they're not some 800-yard wide river that's ripping the whole time. It's just they're more of they're a chain, because we have so many chains of lakes down here. It's a river that's going from a lake to another lake to another lake. Okeechobee, Kissimmee, and then it goes all the way up to the St. Johnson, and all the way up to, Ginny Springs, Zephyr Hills type of deal. But our environment down here is wet, dry, hot, stinky, sticky, thorny, and lots of reptiles that want to bite you.
Yeah.
And a lot of mosquitoes year round, and it's usually hotter than balls.
and a very large black bear population. Let's add.
Not down by me.
Okay. All right.
Well,
or around like Orlando and up, kind of. Ocala, ridiculous. Gainesville, ridiculous.
Williamson Outfitters, located along the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida, is a premier guide service with lodging that provides incredible coastal duck hunting, gator hunting, fishing, gigging, scalping, and custom boat tours along Florida's forgotten coast. They are family owned and operated with over 200 years of combined experience hunting and fishing along this incredible stretch of Florida. Captain Chris Williamson runs a first-class operation. Fishing charters typically consist of inshore and nearshore fishing, targeting species such as tripletail, redfish, trout, mahi-mahi, also known as dolphin fish, shark, flounder, sheep's head, black drum, snapper, jacks, and mackerel. On a coastal duck hunt, you have an incredible chance at many rare species of diver ducks and several puddle duck species. Starting today, Chris is giving out a special offer for all One Hell of a Life listeners. 15% off springtime inshore fishing charters and flounder gigging trips when you type 0duck15 in the comments section at checkout. Offer ends March 31st. And if you're ready to chase some ducks, booking is now available for the 24-25 duck season. Book your trip online at www.floridaducks.com or text Captain Chris at 850-251-8650.
But down by us, the last time I heard of a bear being down here was on Southern Boulevard in one of our STAs.
Oh, wow.
Got trapped, and I have never heard of a black bear being down here since.
Huh.
And then up around like the Orlando, Polk County, Osceola County area, I've never heard of one ever. I've never heard of anybody citing one. I know they're going to exist. But I think down here there's probably more panther sightings than there are bear sightings.
I got you.
And there's not very many panthers.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. There's a whole thing about that. I mean, Tristan, you're probably the best to talk about that because you're so inspired by it. But, there was that special.
Yeah, Path to the Panther, or I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that freaking. Have you seen that, Roscoe?
The YouTube video about panthers and turkey hunting?
No, this was like, I don't know if Discovery did it or somebody did this documentary, or Nat Geo maybe, but it was about like the panther population in Florida and like their natural corridor and like how
So they were talking about how I think it was in 2013. I think their population went down to like under 500 or it was something stupid low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they caught the one, they put the collar on it, and they rehabilitated it. It had like some scuff marks. It got hit by a car or something stupid, and I think they let it back out. No, there is panthers down here. You don't see a lot of them. There's a couple panther reserves down here that you can. Well, there's one that they started giving permits out a couple years ago, which I don't suggest hunting because there's too many panthers. Whole place just smells like cat urine. So, but there is a good amount of panthers down here. I think they're doing better than they were. But they're getting how bears are. They're getting friendly. They're looking at people. They're stalking people through the woods. I mean, they don't really attack people. I mean, the only attack that's been recorded in the last 100 years happened to a guy named Byron Meharry, which was bit on either, I don't remember if it was the right or left butt cheek, turkey hunting in Polk County, which I know him because he owns the camp that we hunt out of, and like the only guy I've known to be messed with by a panther. I think they've tackled a couple decoys here and there, but nothing like they eat dogs and people. That doesn't happen. They're not like mountain lions. Mountain lions, on the other hand, those things will eat anything. They don't care. They're bigger. Panthers aren't that as big as people think.
That's crazy, man.
Well, they are smaller. I mean, they are smaller, but yeah, I'm more worried about getting eaten by a man-eating iguana or a man-eating manatee.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's funny about the black bears though. We have a lot of them up here in where we deer hunt, and to the point that like every time we were checking our trail cameras, like there would be bears on it morning and night.
Big Bruin.
Yeah, and it was crazy, and I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna look up the statistics on how often people get attacked by bears, and actually, or how often people die by bear attacks, and I think on average it said like less than one person a year gets killed by a bear, and that's like 1.5 people get killed by sharks. So like you have a better chance of being killed by a shark than a black bear, essentially.
Yeah, and keep in mind that most of us don't live along the coast.
Yeah, true.
So you really have a really high chance of not getting messed with by a black bear. They just want to run away. But no, the environment down there, as I remember, you guys got a lot of palms, a lot of humidity, a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of snakes. Diamondback rattlesnakes, one of the biggest species down there. You got cottonmouths everywhere. You got gators. There's just a multitude of stuff you have to deal with. And it surprises me that the turkey population, talking about being resilient to all those predators, so many different kinds of predators, is pretty remarkable. But it's just a totally different, you can be in a really thick area, or you could be in a pasture, like you said, just very unique habitat.
Yeah, it's a different ecosystem than I would probably say any other state there is, because most states is year after year it's the same thing. You're hunting the same birds in the same area, and the area doesn't change. Down here, the birds are constantly moving. They get bumped off the roost all the time. You'll roost a bird, then I don't even roost birds, because you'll roost a bird one day, and then the next morning you go in there and he's 2 miles away. And
Wow.
At all the predators you named, 0 of those. I'm sure they do eat turkeys, but I've never heard of a turkey being eaten by gators and snakes. It's really the raccoons and possums. They raid the nests. They climb up in trees,
True.
fire ants. The coyotes definitely eat a lot of turkeys.
Bobcats.
All those things. So if you want a better turkey population, people that are going out at night with e-collars and shooting coyotes, do it. Keep shooting them as much as you can. And then, but turkeys down here, they really don't care how wet it is. This year is definitely a wetter year than I've seen. So they're kind of in the same areas, but they're moving to pine ridges and palmetto flats that don't have 6 inches of water sitting in them. But you're going to get wet getting to those ridges. And, you know, the ridges are only dry on the ridges. So there'll be 500 yards of dry ground, and then it'll be 200 yards of knee deep water. So I've been turkey scouting and turkey hunting for youth season last weekend in dive booties.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's some Florida stuff right there. Yeah, no, and it's just crazy, just the, you know, different stuff you got to deal with in different areas. And if Kade ends up coming down there, I'm going to be very interested to hear what his take is, because he's somebody that does not like a lot of I don't know, what I say, adversity to his hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, turkeys, he might do some crazy stuff.
That's true. Yeah. He does. Not that he doesn't work hard. It's just like, you know, when you have to get out there and, you know, deal with that Florida muck and stuff, I'm interested to hear what he says.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty on the fence about gators. He said if there's gators, he ain't going.
Yeah.
That was his response. And then everybody says stuff about snakes. Florida has snakes, but I feel like Arkansas and Georgia and Alabama, they have way more snakes than we got, because you guys got copperheads. You don't have that. Copperheads are the ones that kill more people or bite more people than I think. I mean, cottonmouths are the only ones that really bite people down here.
Yeah.
Rattlesnake. If you get bit by a rattlesnake, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, as much time as like we've spent in the woods, like I've only one time did we run up on a big ass rattlesnake that was like, we're blood trailing a deer, and it was like 4.5 foot long. But that was in South Georgia, and then
I was face to face with it. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I was blood trailing on my knees.
Yeah, but that, and then, you know, I've seen them in the roads and stuff, but I haven't really ran into them too much hunting. I mean, water moccasins in Florida, I've seen quite a few of those, but like, you know, like you said, if you're just vigilant, you know, you should be okay.
Don't walk through a giant brush pile.
If you're really concerned about it, you can buy those snake traps that go up to your knees. That might help.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's up to your knees and you're in knee deep water,
then you're screwed.
Better get a fencing suit.
Most of the time, the biggest thing I can say, if you see running water, just turn your flashlight on. I mean, if you see running water, turn your flashlight on. Water is usually where you're going to find any kind of running waters, where you're usually going to find your gators, your snakes, and they're going to be sitting on the edge of the water right where it drops off, because all the fish are going to be going across, and that's what they're looking for to eat and stuff like that. Any kind of crossing point, a 4-way, stuff like that. That's where all the animals are going to be sitting. And I'll send you guys the clip of youth season. There was about an 8-foot gator sitting right on the edge of on a little path that had running water, and we walked across and we didn't even see it until, because he was looking for, the guy I was with, he was looking for snakes, and then all of a sudden he was like a foot, he was like, oh shit, and stepped back, and it was like a 7-foot gator, like right there, like I'm talking 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from his foot.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's nuts.
But he wasn't looking for a full-blown man, he was looking for a little 20-pound hog.
Right. Yeah, and I would imagine, I mean, it seems like even gators are pretty, like, you know, they'd rather not have to go head to head with a human, you know, for the most part, it seems like.
Well, yeah, I mean, like when you drive by them down at the STAs or something like that, a lot of them go splashing in the water upon seeing a vehicle. I mean, not all of them, you know, the ones that are real giant that know they can eat you, they just kind of lay there while you drive by. But no, they are scared of you for the most part, I think. Well,
yeah, that's the thing. If there's a gator that wants to eat you, you're gonna know he wants to eat you.
Yeah.
He's not gonna play around. He's gonna come after you. And I do know a couple buddies that were hunting one of our areas down here. My dad and then the guy I turkey hunt with all the time. They were deer hunting with bows, and there was 2 of them fucking chasing them. They could just see like the 5-foot sawgrass peeling over in like a perfect V. There was like 2 12-footers chasing them.
Oh dude, no.
With bows, no pistol. No, he said after that he carried a pistol and looked after that.
Oh, I would for sure after that.
Dude, 12-footers.
The last 2 weeks of scouting, we're like walking through all this water, and all of a sudden I look to my right, and all the water's like vibrating. There's like 100 babies. I'm like, do we got a pistol? No, I'm like, you didn't grab the pistol. I'm like, oh, and I just started walking fast to mess with them. He's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? I'm like, oh man, everything's moving. I'm gonna get out of here as a joke.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, the hell with that. I mean, I'm not doing 12-foot gators.
I saw something, you know, in Home Alone when he like walks out, and after those guys have been messing with him for a long time, and he's like, I said I'm not afraid anymore. Yeah. Well, there was this like thing going around. Yeah, there's this thing going around Instagram Reels where it was like when you're a bow hunter and you start carrying like a handgun, it's like this, you know, that kid but it's like in the woods at night. He's like, I said I'm not afraid anymore.
That's good.
Oh man. I'll freak anybody out because I'm a big believer in not using lights when it comes to turkey or deer hunting. I don't use them.
Just go straight in the dark. Spec off.
Half the stuff down here is either a cattle trail or a buggy trail. So it's like, how can you get lost on a fucking sugar sand road? It's white. It's like, you can't get lost. If you get lost, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't tell you how many. I mean, one of the guys I hunt with, and I'm sure he's going to listen to the podcast, so he's going to hear it. The one year we were hunting our area down here, and we were walking in, and I'm like, can you please turn that headlight off? I'm like, we're going to bump a bird off the roost. I know we are. He's like, I can't. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm going to turn my light off. I'm going to turn it back on. Big cat. I was like, you have issues. He thinks this random panther's going to pop up and sneak up on him.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, I guess, I mean, if you're that concerned, I don't know if turkeys can see it or not, but I mean, they got those green lights and stuff, you know, if somebody was that worried about it, you know?
Well, turkeys can see green lights.
Can they? Okay. Well, yeah.
Well, they're like ducks. They see 24 shades of whatever color BS, whatever, but they have 270 visions. That's what's weird. But that'll help you too, because if they're on one side of the fence line and you're on the other, they can't see you. The degrees doesn't work out, so you can run down that fence line.
Huh. No, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I just heard the other day about how predators normally have forward-facing eyes and prey, you know, have like eyes on the side. Yeah. It's funny how nature works out those things like that.
So if your eyeballs are closer together, are you more of a badass hunter?
Maybe.
The closer they get, you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
And if they're the further away, then you're just screwed as a prey.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, his eyeballs are really wide. He's screwed. Like yeah.
The tequila chick with floating eyeballs is the one. That's the main predator. The tequila chick with the wandering eye, main predator.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're talking about now, it's just the opposite when it comes to sharks, because you got the hammerheads. You know, hey,
that's true.
They got about the widest eye base that there is.
They're different. They're made for trapping stingrays and weird shit.
So, you know, one thing we kind of didn't get into, but how was y'all's duck season this year?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
I would probably say, out of every state besides Texas, I'd probably say we had a better year. Now, we had a lot of divers. I'm not going to act like there wasn't a ridiculous amount of divers down here, but there is areas you could not hunt the divers. Now, if you want to go shoot some stupid 12-man, 10-man limit, yeah, you're gonna hunt divers down here. I know of a couple people that actually shot good, you know, 5, 10, 20-man, not 20-man, 15-man limits of ducks down here that were puddle ducks, but that was like twice. Everybody else that was shooting crazy limits, all the guide service down here were really honing in on our ringnecks. And then we had a lot of bluebills this year. They bumped the bluebill limit down to 1 until January like 15th or something, and then you could kill 2, and it was a huge problem. People were going out and shooting their limit of bluebills 5 minutes into the morning, and then would shoot a duck the rest of the day, would have over 100 bluebills going to decoys and just stuff like that. But back to, like, you know, having a lot of water in Florida and having it being an El Nino year, we had water. Arkansas didn't have water. Georgia had a little bit of water, and most of the people that were hunting Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, that were actually being able to find birds with water was coastal ducks. You know, people that had tide pools and people that had access to water that's always going to be there. But for come down to timber hunting, there wasn't very many people that hunted Balmita and all those areas because there was no water in them.
Yeah, it was a huge problem there.
The only people that could hunt were people with mud motors and surface drives, and now they're trying to make them illegal because so many people were running them last year. Yeah.
I saw that they're trying to do that, and then I heard some talk about a horsepower limit too. Yeah,
it's gonna be 40 under, but half of the NWRs and WMAs down there already have that. Already have a 40 limit, and then a lot of them have 25 limits. That's why companies like Daihatsu and Nissan, they came out and trying to think, there's one other brand, I can't remember what it is, came out with the Megas. You know, it's a 25 with a 40 on the inside.
In the outdoors, every detail counts. See sharper, aim clearer. From the river's edge to the heart of the flooded timber, Hook and Bullet has your vision covered. Hook and Bullet's purpose-built optics are flawlessly crafted to give you an edge regardless of your outdoor pursuit. Use code ZeroDuck30 for 15% off a pair of Hook and Bullet sunglasses today.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see, and this is coming from, gator tail owners ourselves, I definitely see the, double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, you can get to some better areas, but, it's a loud motor, and people, not using it the right way doesn't help either, being loud and running it, at certain times.
With that?
Now, Arkansas, yeah, Arkansas.
I
don't know if you've seen, but Arkansas is. We were just talking about Arkansas is talking about banning surface drives.
Mm-hmm. They've been talking about it for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
they are, and it's just, it's not that so much. It's people putting straight pipes and stuff on them. I mean, it's a very, very incredibly great tool for the timber. I mean, it is, and the marsh. I mean, I seen my buddy do some stuff with mine.
Well, that's why you got one, is just because of the diversity to be able to.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, I'm jumping logs. I mean, I left a couple guys behind that had outboards, and but it's really just the pipes. If you could do that with an outboard, people have already done it. Mm-hmm. But they're able to do it with these surface drives, and that's what I mean. We heard it. It sounds like a Harley out there. I mean. There should be a noise restriction that shouldn't exceed so many decibels. That's what it should be. It should be just protecting nature from sound. And really just that. It has nothing to do with the operation of the motor. And I would hope that the people involved are smart enough to say, because I'm not very smart, all right? And I'm sitting here going, dude, it's a sound issue. It's not the motor issue. It's a useful tool. And guess what? If every Arkansas person, the main reason why they have outboards is because they fish with their boats too. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if you're going to get the most out of your boat, you're not going to just use it during duck season. Every single person I know in Arkansas that owns an outboard fishes a lot.
Right.
So I understand why they got them.
Yeah, man. I guess we'll have to see what happens, but yeah, no, their water problem was a huge problem this year, I know. And obviously that whole state's been a topic of controversy with some of those WMAs. Yeah,
it's really, I mean, the best thing you can watch to be educated about that is just look up Dave Donaldson updates. It makes a whole lot of sense. When you watch it, you'll be educated and you'll understand and you won't be frustrated, because they openly admitted that they made a mistake, that they made a lot of these structures based on no clear direction or scientific background, or geological background, or having surveys or analysis done, and they have done that. They have done it dramatically. They've had engineers involved. They've had the Army Corps engineers. They've had all these different biologists, and I mean, it's a big operation, and they're getting it right, and they're bringing it back to where it's naturalizing the flow with some advantages, basically the way I see it. So they're just trying to do the best of both worlds with it, and I think that's going to be the big deal that should be there is everybody should be worried about what they're going to do with Lake Ashball. With the leak problem, so we'll see where all that goes. But it's necessary, and if you're frustrated about it, just go watch the YouTube video. It takes 15 minutes, and you'll be like, oh, now I get it, So it's just like when people tell you to go to church and it's time to do the offering, and you're like, man, I ain't giving church none of my money. But if you go to church all the time, you're like, yeah, here, take it. You know what I mean? Once you understand it, you support it. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Well, yeah, man. So what do you, what's your thoughts on the bluebill limit? I know you just touched on that a minute ago, Roscoe.
I mean, it has its place. I mean, everything's done for a reason. I guess maybe last year we had a lot of birds taken or not as many birds shot last year as the normal population. So they bumped it down. I get it. And then this year it just was stupid. But I'm sure there was other states that had not as many bluebills, and if they did have a 2 bluebill limit, they would have shot so many. It wouldn't make funny,
right?
And I knew the bluebill was, the scalp was getting really heavy down here because we were getting lessers, and for the areas I hunt down here, I haven't seen a lesser since I was probably 8 years old. I haven't seen a lesser down here ever. I've seen my fair share of bills down here. I mean, not nothing crazy, because I don't really hunt coastal areas. That's usually where most of the birds are. The West Coast, Tampa Bay, the Panhandle, places like that. You know, coastal salt areas are usually where they kill most of our divers down here when it comes to it. Layout boats and bays and stuff like that. But we were getting bluebills in our STAs, our main lakes, just our areas public areas, we're getting tons and tons of bluebills. And for a Florida hunter that doesn't see them all the time, it's really hard to tell the difference between that and a ringy. They wrote, that was probably the most written ticket this year that I know of in the STAs, was people killing over their bluebill limit. And not even knowing what it was, thinking it was just a really dark ringneck.
Yeah.
I mean, a hen is a real hard difference.
Yeah, especially a hen is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially flying. How are you supposed to? You can't. You know, if somebody says they really know what they're looking at, they're full of shit.
Yeah. Now,
So what do? Lower the ringneck limit, let that population explode? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it comes down to like just knowing what you're doing when you're scouting, because obviously, like, if you're in an area where there's a lot of bluebills, then you kind of can anticipate that. But like, I guess if you just happen to be at the STAs or whatever, and like it's early morning and an 8-pack of bluebills come in, and it's like, and you rain them out. Like,
I mean, what kind of emotional roller coaster would that be? If you have 8 ducks flying and you and your 3 or 4 buddies rain them out,
thinking they're
and you're
nice.
like, whoa, and you go pick them up, you're like, has anybody got the number to FWC?
Yeah, it's had to have happened too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it can happen, but maybe they take that into consideration, a percentage of, when they make these limits, that they I don't know. I mean, I'd be curious to know, but it seems probable that they would take into consideration that there are birds misidentified that will be shot.
Yeah, I bet they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, that's how they do it. They take scales from each fly zone. So they got the Delta, the East Coast, West Coast, Central, whatever, because I think there's 4 or something like that.
Yep.
And then each zone gets how many birds were checked in and what they think, because that's why we have STAs and we have places that are regulated by federal game wardens, because they write down what your ducks are being killed. And that's they have those areas that are managed by federally, so they can turn them all in with biologists and figure out how many we're killing every year.
Let me ask you this, Roscoe, kind of back to the Florida and Arkansas thing. We've always been really big fans of the way Florida has certain quota hunts set up, because you might not pull it every year, but if you pull it, you're going to have a successful hunt for 7 times out of 10, if you know what you're doing. But like, Arkansas, there's not, there's all this debate about, out-of-staters. And I know it's a completely different duck landscape. There's a lot more ducks, a lot more people coming to hunt. But like, I'm of the take of like, I wouldn't be mad if they established some quotas that took me a couple years to pull as an out-of-stater if I had a better chance of killing ducks. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
No. We don't have very many areas down here that you have to draw where you can actually use a boat. With most of our areas down here, you draw are walk-in areas only. So motorists, kayak, you got paddle in. Everybody picks. You get put in a hat and you get shuffled around. You get to pick a number, and then you pick your parking spot and stuff like that. So it's not really how many people are in there or how people treat it, because people are still leaving their trash, their garbage, they're still destroying shit. It's the fact that these areas are actually managed by something all year. There's not people every single day. It's managed. The grades are graded. All the roads are nice. There's catchment areas. There's areas that are shut off every year. There's 20 cells, but you can only hunt 3. And then next year it'll be a different 3. And then 2 years it'll be the same. And then they switch it, and then they plant 1. And then they let the other one come up with more water. Some hold more water, less water. And they switch around every year. And that's what makes it so good in there is people aren't hunting it and destroying it as much as a public area. You go to Lake Okeechobee and it's destroyed. It's the deepest water it's ever been. They're flooding grass and they're killing everything. They're again, they're spraying all the vegetation. They're killing the shit out of absolutely everything that feeds the wildlife, all the water and whatever kind of freshwater plankton are in there. And they say it doesn't hurt it, but that's horseshit.
Yeah.
They're giving guys, you have to buy this product to kill this plant, but that product costs $200, and I can go buy a gallon of this for $40. Yeah, they're gonna mix it. They're making more money. That's why people cheap out on stuff. That's why when you get your house built, you got to make sure you don't have a guy that's going to cheap out the shingles or the heat that they're sealing your roof with and stuff like that. Because just because it's protocol, if it's hidden, nobody's going to say anything, and they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I that whole topic is definitely something that's always coming up. And I don't you'll know this, Roscoe, but I don't off the top of my head. Like, is the main argument with that whole spraying thing, is that more of a thing for people that are trying to fish, or what's like their logic on doing that? Because I don't remember exactly.
I think why they spray is because they think it's going to overpopulate and it'll kill the water in an aspect. So if you get too much hydrilla, then the undergrowth gets killed. Or not hydrilla. I always call duckweed hydrilla, but hydrilla is actually the floating mass. Yeah. And the bottom is duckweed or whatever that's called. I don't know. I think it's called flack or something. So if there's too much overgrowth, the undergrowth dies. It's the same reason why people burn and 40-50 cut their timber. It's because if you don't burn all the leaves and the pine needles on the ground, the undergrowth can never grow. If there's too many trees, it makes too much shade, and the undergrowth can't get rain and it can't get sun. So it's the same aspect in the water. But the problem is when they do kill all the overgrowth, whatever they're leaving, with the certain spray they're using, it might kill it, but it doesn't decay it. Or it's oil-based, and then it's suffocating whatever kind of bugs, frogs, and eggs are in there. Or let's say a bird lands in it and it gets it on its feet, and then the bird's feet burn, and then they end up losing skin. They get dry skin, and they can't be on their feet all day. So what do they got to fly? And if they fly too long, they're going to get exhausted, and then they're going to go back on their feet, get feet rot, and then die. And the more and more happens, the more animals that die. And then if animals lay around a long time and decay a certain way, and then another animal eats it, it dies. And then if it dies, something else eats it, and so on and so forth. So it's the same thing where it goes from the spider all the way to the human. It goes spider, bird, cat, mouse, however that story goes, all the way to a cow to a human, and they end up all dying. Yeah. In the end, because it was out of balance. And just because, one wrong act, you drop a needle the wrong way, it's going to poke somebody and somebody's going to bleed. It's just, there's so many aspects, and there's not enough people to fight for it, and not enough courts to hear about it to figure out what's really wrong. Right. So,
well, I mean,
until it hits a really bad point, until they actually investigate it. The same thing with snow geese. They've had this, what is it called? Avian flu.
Mm-hmm.
So avian flu has been around for, I think, 8 years now, but this is the first year it was really bad. And this is the first year they've really been researching it, what actually causes it. Now, it's been around for 8 years, but they could give a rat's ass because it wasn't that big of a problem.
Well, that's because it was a different version. That's what the big deal was with it this time, is that it was a different, they call it a subspecies, basically. And that's they were like, whoa, what's this? And that's why it kind of threw a lot of people up in arms, was just everybody going, it's new.
Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
Not necessarily, and then all of the gossip starts from there, right? I mean, yeah, I was duck hunting. I watched 2 snow geese spiral out of the sky. A V was flying by, and 2 of them just spiraled out of the sky, hit the ground, died. I mean, like, dude, from like hundreds of feet. Mm-hmm. Me and another guy saw it, So, but that was the big deal with it. And this year it wasn't such a big deal. And, but the fact is, they've had avian bird flu forever. All waterfowl have had it, but it's just like us having the flu or the cold.
I thought it was more of like it's always been a thing with birds, but it crossed into the wild population.
That's what happened with a previous version.
Yeah.
And they're always concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to see if this is mutated, and that was the concern. It's just, hey, we want to make sure this doesn't jump back into the commercial population.
Yeah.
But with the water plants, I just wanted to add this to it. You know, their big thing about this, and probably nobody knows it better than Thompson.
Travis Thompson. Yeah.
Travis Thompson. Maybe we can get him on here and talk about that. But you know, it's so much of these aquatic species are invasive. You know, and hydrilla, it does choke something out, man. I mean, it does. You know, which conceptually you can see why they want to limit it, but to just like decimate it,
nuke the whole thing.
Yeah, nuke the whole thing. You can't. There's got to be arguments to both sides, I'm sure, but there's got to be a lot of scientific backup. We just got to find the right people to publicize that, so that all of us understand the defensive side of it. Why we don't want this to happen, like we're talking about. You know, there's probably a laundry list from biologists that say, "Hey, this is why we shouldn't." But then again, why is it being sponsored by FWC? So, what argument won?
I don't know. I know it raises a lot of hell.
Yeah, it does. It does. It certainly does. And, you know, you can't, I mean, if there's somebody sitting at the top chair going, listen, man, fishing is $50 billion industry in Florida or whatever it is. We're
probably close to that.
We're going to support that, and screw the ducks and the otters and beavers and whatever else lives there. It may be that way. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
but no, it is a big concern about wildlife in general. And but
what I know, and I don't know how this is in Florida, Roscoe, but like when we had Billy from Dr. Duck, or no, this was on his podcast, on their podcast. I heard them say this. Like one of the things they're running into in Texas is like the fishing versus hunting thing, where like, you know, these lakes that were once legendary, you know, duck hunting lakes have essentially died because like the vegetation can't grow because they never drain the lakes, and there's no like, you know, that nature cycle of, you know, moist soil plants and all that stuff. It can't ever happen because there's the fishing industry there is so big that like it's kind of choked out the duck hunting in some of those big lakes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and just the regular population, you know, a lot of people just like going out riding their boats, going to sandbars, swimming, stuff like that. And then there's so many people that live on lakefront property now. They don't want to look at that.
Yeah.
They walk to their dock and have clean water. They can look in the water. They don't want to see hydrilla floating around.
Sure.
You know, they're trying to make Florida not a swamp. They're trying to make it, you know, New York City concrete palace. You know, that's not how it was designed.
Yeah. No, for sure. I don't know anything about it, but I just happened to see something on social media this week about, I think it had to do with Okeechobee, like some big let off or something. Do you know about that, Roscoe?
They've been holding, I don't know 100% about it, but they've been holding back water in Lake Okeechobee because they're scared if they let the water back down through the Everglades, it's going to do the whole blue-green algae outbreak again. That's what they're worried about. I'm pretty sure. I would have to fact check it. So don't take my 100% word for it, but I think that's what it is, because they're scared that if they let too much fresh water into a coastal area to make algae, and it's going to kill out nature or something like that, which is the same aspect. But the problem is if you let a little bit of water out year round, you're fine. But the problem is they want to keep the water up so damn high instead of letting it out. So then when we do get a crazy amount of water, we can hold it and it'll be at normal level instead of 20 foot higher than it's supposed to be in a lake.
Jeez.
You know, lakes aren't made. That's why we're a chain. That's why we're a peninsula. Everything runs from all the way up in Jacksonville, all the way down to the Florida Keys and out. And then it goes right back into the Gulf. And then storms create over the Gulf because it's warm. And then it pours in Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, and then comes right back down Florida and refloods our wetlands. That's how nature is supposed to be. You
just did a great, honestly, I was picturing all that in my head, and that was such a great visual of like the cycle, because that's how it is. I mean, you could picture it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. If you ever look when they're on the news and they're showing you all like the little lines of whatever the air pressure, whatever the hell, I don't even know what that stuff is. I'm not a urologist or whatever. Urologist.
Meteorologist.
Whatever the people that Yeah, whatever the people that do weather.
You mean you won't test my urine for me?
Yeah. They're they show the lines of hot air and cold air and how the Gulf works and the Gulf Stream and stuff like that. That's how the water works, and it's pouring out of Florida in our freshwater areas, goes on the coastal, and then the tides come out and it pulls the fresh water and pushes it back in the ocean, and then the hot water, so then there's more water in the ocean, and then it feeds that water and gives that water all the minerals it needs again, and then the rain pulls it back out and then purifies it, because only purified water can be put in the air. It's distilled water. It's like when you boil water and you catch the vapor, and then it brings it all the way back through the Gulf, and then again goes back to Louisiana, Arkansas, feeds all that land, and then comes right back down Florida and just does a steady flow. It's a steady circle. That's why we have a Gulf. That's why there's a bay.
Yeah. No, it's neat stuff, man, and it's certainly a very very unique environment that I hope that they can always keep it as pristine as possible. I know it's a lot of people moving there and a lot of developments coming up.
Oh yeah, they've taken out hundreds and hundreds of acres around us. There's a bunch of land. I don't know how many acres it was, but it's definitely over 500. It's probably close to, I don't know, I'd probably say 2,000 acres that they just fucking clear cut the whole thing.
Yeah, it's
leveled, gotten it out, and made a bunch of houses on it. And it was an area that backed up to one of our WMAs that we turkey hunt and stuff like that. And you don't know how it's going to hurt that population. You don't know. It's going to push deer, but it's going to start pushing deer out into other areas that they're not used to being. Maybe areas that are wetter, drier, not as much food sources. Maybe there's more predators now. They're closer to highways, getting hit by more cars, more red ants. It's a drier area that doesn't have water, so they can't get away from ants and mosquitoes and the bugs that kill their young. It's just so many aspects. It's just, everybody knows the downfall of the earth is humanity. We are killing this planet quicker than it can produce life.
Yeah. Yep. And then we think we can play God, and then we just make it worse.
Yeah, we think we're really scientists, but we're taking out the three things that feed life. Sun. So we're killing the sun with pollution. The sun can't get down like it's supposed to. We're trying to keep areas wetter and drier than they're supposed to be. So now we're taking out water, which feeds the entire earth. Without water, you have nothing. And then we're cutting down all the damn trees.
It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024?
Which make oxygen. The three things you need: sun, water, oxygen.
Yeah.
It's the only three things you need for life. And they're destroying every bit of it.
I was sitting here and listening to you guys. We were talking about the this whole topic and controversy and issue with the whole, the spraying and everything that's going down in Florida. And it got me thinking about listening to Ranella and Cam Haines and Joe Rogan talk about the whole wolf thing that's going on out there. It's very similar in the support, but it's different. You know what I mean? It seems very similar in its structure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, in the sense that, they think they're doing something to improve the situation, but the fact of the matter is the people are a little bit out of touch with the reality of what wolves do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, they yeah.
Nothing bothers anybody until it bothers a human.
Right.
There's coyotes that murder millions of animals a year, millions upon millions. It kills somebody's dog, and now you got to call in animal control and all this shit to kill a coyote that's been running around this neighborhood. But this is the first time it's actually killed a dog. But it's been killing feral cat. It's been killing cats all the time. But people, just, my cat ran away, until it kills somebody's dog, and then it's the end of the world. Every coyote in 100-mile radius must be fucking decimated.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, and you can't get rid of the coyote. That's the thing. I mean, it's been proven that if they lose one of their pack and they don't hear it call back, the female will automatically have more babies. I mean, not like, like Virgin Mary type of thing. But I mean, she's going to be like, all right, let's get it on. You know what I mean? But she's going to automatically populate.
Leave them alone.
Yeah, she's going to automatically start breeding. And that's how now, I mean, coyotes have probably swam over to Hawaii at this point.
They said they're in every single city in America.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
City.
Yeah, every single city in America. Yeah.
City.
Yep.
Not country, not small town, not county, city.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they turned into slum dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, man. I mean, you can't have a little poodle out.
Yeah.
You can't. No, but I don't know. But I just, I think it's interesting that we get these debates of different things that have to do with nature, and you always got one side pulling against the next. But, the one thing that is consistent with everything is that hunters have been the leader of supporting whatever it is to make the habitat good. Because we know this, if we help make the habitat good, even if it's even for a period of time that we can't hunt it, because we want to have the patience to rebuild. It happened in Illinois. Illinois, deer was thick, deer got smoked, and my stepdad remembers growing up as a kid not being able to deer hunt in Illinois. He remembers deer season being open, and you'd be lucky if you even saw a deer, period. And I mean, you would brag to your buddies about how many tracks you saw in Illinois. And look at it now. I mean, we're going back easily. I mean, this was back in the 60s, 50s he was talking about. But look out, in just 50 years, what's happened to that population? It's just exploded, and we can make an impact. And most of the time, it's us hunters that are there in the forefront trying to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody else just uses these aspects to get money for themselves or to claim power. That's all they care about. They don't actually care about what happens to the eco.
I just want to make money. It's just what it comes down to, making money.
That's why the people that work for no money are the biologists, and the people that are making huge bank are the people that slam the hammer down and say, yeah, sure, it works for me.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yep, unfortunately.
I'm going to tell you this right now. A judge doesn't care about your eco at all. He could give a shit less. All he does is slam that hammer. All he has to do is sit there, look pretty, and slam the hammer.
Well, that's because he's got slipped a slim thou, in the back pocket, just like, hey, judge.
Nah, man, I'm just kidding.
What was that? You broke up a little bit.
I said that was a thick thou, not a slim one.
Yeah. Well, man, Roscoe, I think we gotta hop off here before too long, man. But I really appreciate you coming back on the podcast, and it was great time as usual. And I know we'll be in touch, and I hope your turkey season's as lights out as you're wanting it to be, and I'm looking forward to seeing the content, man.
Yeah, dude, and just keep doing what you're doing as far as the youth thing, man. It's so inspiring, and I love it. I'm proud of you, dude, and such an adult thing to do for a young man like you, and you're way ahead of your years.
Yeah, you definitely are wise and mature behind your ears. You got an old soul. Man. Yep.
So,
for sure.
All right, buddy. You take care of yourself. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.